can spell my name. I know it's
Kandawara. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I know it's going to be difficult, so.
I tried. I have you representing yourself and against the bill, and once again, if you could just, for the record, repeat your name.
Sure. My name is Ishrat Kandawala. I'm a representative. I'm a constituent of Representative Donna Dukes. It's 3 a.m., isn't it? I'm representing myself and all the women who require and deserve the freedom of choice. I firmly stand in opposition to HB 16 because no one should have restrictions like these placed upon their reproductive freedoms. As you have repetitively heard from many women before me, the choice to have an abortion is already difficult enough without your invasive and uncalled for input. I was born a year before, but on the same day that Roe v. Wade was decided, January 22nd, 1972. I marched in Washington during the March for Choice several times in the 1990s in college. That was ages ago. And even then, I was confused and disheartened as to why I was marching for a right that had been secured for me decades before. Now it is 2013. Here I am again, still fighting to keep abortion safe and legal for every woman and at every time. I'm a high school special education teacher, and in my work every day, I see teenage girls who have made all kinds of reproductive choices, all kinds. We respect their choices no matter what it may be because we know that they have that right and should continue to have that right. As people have spoken before, 20 weeks may be when some of those teenage girls find out about their pregnancy. It's not uncommon. I see it a lot. Some of these girls are confused. They're tormented. They have a very difficult choice ahead of them, and they need time to make that very difficult personal decision, especially my students who are special needs. I give them accommodations, legally required, for extra time. We should give all those students that choice, and they're going to need extra time if they do not know that they are pregnant at 20 weeks. In conclusion, because I want to give everyone a chance to speak before it gets too late, I just want you to know that I'm honored that you're allowing us to speak right now, but I do think that not all these stories need to be heard because they're not repetitive. They're all personal because this choice is very personal, and all these stories, they tell you what you should do. So please vote from your heart and vote against this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Pedro Lobos? Yes. Pedro, have you here representing yourself, testifying against the bill?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, committee, for having me today. I am recently graduated from the University of Texas and will probably...
Need you to go ahead and state your name.
My name is Pedro Villalobos, and I am testifying against the bill. I'm a recent graduate of the University of Texas and will probably be attending the University of Texas School of Law. I'm here to tell you a story. I was fortunate enough in my undergraduate career to have worked for the winning attorney for Roe v. Wade. And one of the stories that resonates with me is one where she tells that she's wearing a hanger, a button with a hanger, and the hanger has crossed out. She's on a plane, and a flight attendant around my age walks by her, looks at her weirdly, but doesn't say anything. 10 minutes later, the flight attendant comes back and asks her, "What do you have against hangers?" She then proceeds to explain to her the meaning of the hanger. Luckily, my generation is fortunate enough to not know automatically the definition of a hanger. Fortunately, my generation is fortunate that we have to look up the definition of what the hanger means. I feel that if HB 16 passes, my generation will and the next generation will not be lucky enough to know. Will not be fortunate enough to not know what the hanger means. We will know what it means because low-income women, especially Hispanics, people who look like my mom, will resort to draconian methods to achieve an abortion after 20 weeks if it becomes illegal. In closing, I urge you to vote no, but I also want to say this to all the men in this committee. If you do not stand with the women today, if you do not vote against HB 16 and HB 60, these women will, I guarantee you, they will be standing next to your opponent next year when you are up for re-election. Thank you.
Okay, Ann Bedroni, Planned Parenthood, and both for self and Planned Parenthood, here to speak against the bill.
Yes, hello. Thank you. My name is Ann Budroni. I'm here to vote against HB 16. I've been here since 1 o'clock today, so I know how tired all of you are. I've testified against the previous bill. I'm testifying again because HB 16 is just another block for access to women who need an abortion. This is no mystery here. It also blocks women from obtaining information, vital information they need to make a decision to continue their pregnancy or to terminate their pregnancy due to medical reasons that will not be known until post 20 weeks of childbirth. I would like to gather all of your attention, and I do not appreciate the lack of attention from this committee. I have watched the author of this bill laugh while women cried today, multiple times. This is a serious, serious bill.
And you've had the attention of this committee.
And I appreciate it, but I did not have the attention of this committee fully, and neither have many of the women today. So for those of you who have actively listened, I hope you will understand how grave the state of women is in Texas. We vote, and guaranteed we will vote you out of office. We stand with those of you who will protect our rights. And I hope you will listen and recall the testimony today of brave women who've been through difficult times, and not just say, oh, we've heard that before, because you will continue to hear it until you make the right decision for women in this state. And thank you for listening, and I hope that you will make the right decision, because we'll be back.
Thank you. Daniel Burton, here testifying for yourself against the bill.
My name is Daniel Burton. I'm a resident of Austin, represented by Elliot Neshad, and I oppose this legislation. Instead of standing here and telling you personal stories, which I could do, I'd like to point out a few fatal flaws in this legislation. As has been pointed out before, this legislation is a thinly veiled attempt to erode the protections that were established by the Supreme Court some 40 years ago, and is likely to be presented with costly and litigious challenges as a result. This legislation is flawed in that it disrespects the agency of Texas women. It disrespects the decision-making power that those women and their doctors share in very personal decisions. But most importantly, this legislation is profoundly misguided. We would all love to live in a world where there are no unwanted pregnancies and no abortions, but we don't live in that world, and we will never live in that world. We would all like to live in a world where there are fewer abortions, and that is a world that we can live in, but this bill is not a path to that. If I may quote from a study from the World Health Organization, highly restrictive abortion laws are not associated with lower abortion rates. For example, the abortion rate is 29 per 1,000 women of childbearing age in Africa and 32 per 1,000 in Latin America, regions in which abortion is illegal under most circumstances in the majority of countries. The rate is 12 per 1,000 in Western Europe, where abortion is generally permitted on broad grounds. If the state has a interest in reducing the number of abortions, the path is not to restrict access. The path is to provide increased education, increased access to reproductive care, increased access to contraception. I think that's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, for your testimony.